Welcome everyone to the Pearson Business Book Club. My name is Eloise Cook and I'm the publisher for the professional business list at Pearson. So we have something a bit different today. Normally we have one book and the author, but this time we're having a panel session. Okay. So we'll be looking back at 2023 and looking forward to 2024. So we're joined by Dr. Audrey Tang, John Williams, Catherine Stothart, and Greg Orme, and we'll be looking at the following questions. So please feel free to ask questions, add things to the chat. We'll keep this interactive and as a conversation. And if you need to leave halfway through, we'll be recording this and we'll post it on the book club website, which I will post in the chat. There we go. So many windows open. So hopefully you'll have met our authors today. Dr. Audrey Tang is a chartered psychologist with a focus on practical self-improvement. She also has a podcast and a radio show. Hi, Audrey.
Hello. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's all right. Great to see you. John Williams is the founder of the Ideas Lab, the company that has helped thousands of people make a living out of what they love doing. Hi, John.
Hi there. Nice to be here.
Excellent. Catherine Stothart is a leadership coach and team consultant with 30 years experience in top multinational companies. Hi, Catherine.
Hi, everybody. Nice to be here.
And Greg Orme is a keynote speaker and leadership coach. He's worked on organisational change in some of the world's best-known organisations. Hi, Greg.
Hello. Nice to see you.
Excellent. Right. So let's get to our first question. What's the best thing you've learned in 2023? And so we're going to sort of go around in order, but I won't make Audrey go first every time. But Audrey, do you have anything you'd like to say in response to this question?
Yeah, well, the funniest thing I learned was I was asked to do media interviews on the sickness is at an all-time high. And I remember thinking, do you know what? Sickness was at an all-time high when I was doing my PhD back in 2012. But what I have learned this year is how to describe my findings and recommendations a lot better. And that's what I wanted to share today. At the time, back in 2012, I was always saying, work is a great place to build our skills, make friends, have a lot of well-being boosts, actually. But that virtuous cycle can easily become a vicious cycle, and change needs to be started from the top. But the problem is a lot of leadership doesn't really understand how to make those changes. And whilst we focus on leadership nowadays, the solutions tend to be very individual and very personal. Those interventions, those initiatives, lunchtime yoga, give people resilience classes and so on. However, this year, I have now taken to using this analogy. If you think like a health and safety executive and you go and you fall down a hole, what happens? People fix the hole. They don't give you lessons as to how to walk around a hole. They don't give you lessons as to how to climb out of the hole. They fix the hole. We need to be taking a practical approach to psychological issues such as burnout, rust out, all of those things that are making us ill at work in exactly the same way as we do take practical solutions when it comes to physical health and safety. And if we can start changing the system and not telling people just go and take resilience lessons alone, we might actually have some headway into reducing burnout, rust out at work and making it a better culture of well-being.
I like that. That's going to be a new mantra for me. Fix the hole.
Don't teach us how to walk around it. And you wouldn't. But why is it when people are off with burnout and stress and so on? No, let's give you resilience lessons. Yeah, that can help, but it's not going to fix the hole.
Yeah, gosh, yeah. John, do you have anything that you'd like to add on this?
I think one of the themes this year for me that I learned was to take your wishes and desires and preferences seriously. Because I think I've got that typical kind of British outlook of like, oh, well, you know, never mind, not to take the things that I want seriously. So it's taken me a long time to build the habit of like, no, I really want this thing. So right now I'm standing in Vietnam, and it's because I wanted to get away from the British winter for a month. And you can do that very affordably in other countries in the world. And so I come here and work here, and I'm going to be writing here. And, going away for a month is quite a pain, apart from the expense. Yes, unfortunately, I can afford to do that. But packing things up for an entire 30 days, just so you can be somewhere a bit warmer and sunnier. There's part of me who was thinking like, oh, I'll just not bother. And I'm so glad I did. So it's things like that. And it's, we're working on this book that will be announced soon, I guess. And I put some effort into that. And I thought, no, this is important, even though I'm busy with other things. I really, really want to do this book. And I also launched a group program called the Crazy Successful Formula, which was something I've been wanting to do for a while. So it was kind of, this happens, of course, in your personal life as well. It's personal life, work life, whatever it might be, in your business, building a habit of listening to yourself and actually taking your desires and wishes and preferences seriously.
Yeah, and I feel like on a practical note, I don't know if it's just me, but sometimes you could pack just as much for like one night as maybe 30 if you just have a few more clothes. You sort of still have to take your toothbrush and all this stuff, don't you?
True. Yeah.
And if anyone who's watching has any suggestions or questions, feel free to chip in. But Catherine, what's the best thing you've learned in 2023?
Well, sort of building on what John was just saying, mine's a bit of a personal thing, really. And I hope it's not going to sound too sad, but we had a couple of deaths in the family this year, and people were really supportive and really kind, and it helped a lot. And so, I mean, I suppose I knew this anyway, but my point or my learning really is that having good relationships with other people really is the most important thing in life. And that therefore you need to nurture those relationships and, spend time on them as well. So that's a sort of really reflecting back on what John was saying about having a bit of a balanced life and knowing where your balance needs to be with how much time you spend on your work compared with your family and friends and so on. So so that's my reminder of learning, I think, for 2023. Relationships are important, and getting on with other people well is important.
Yes, it's a skill, teamwork and communication. They're just always coming out top of the skills we need for the future. I know, I'm pretty sure that Greg would agree with that as well. That being human is important.
Yes, what Catherine was saying really resonates with me, and I was reflecting on this question and thinking, what did I do differently this year because I learned something? And I think we all suffer a little bit with a knowing doing gap, don't we? We know a lot of useful things and wise things, but don't always do them. And I think one thing that I actually did write about in the Human Edge, the book you just were talking about there, Louise, is the idea of life is immeasurably improved, I think, by ignoring a lot of the stimulus that comes your way, especially now that we've got wall-to-wall social media and just interruptions everywhere, including on your watch and on your phone. And more positively, framing of that is to say being very intentional about where you put your energy and your attention. And so this year, I've really cut a lot of stuff out. It's actually chiming with what John said a little bit too, although I haven't gone to Da Nang to do it. I don't read the newspapers anymore. I watch less news. I'm very careful about where I'm spending my time. I listen to more kind of podcasts that I like, and I read a lot of books. You'll be here pleased to hear, Eloise. And I just find that gives me a more enriched existence and makes me happier, less anxious.
Yes, because the news is always so terrible at the moment, it seems, in particular. So yeah, I feel that sort of taking that
And it's not about not
can help.
caring, just to be clear. I think, we should all care what's happening in Israel and between Israel and Hamas, and we should all care what's happening with Ukraine, and we should all care about the climate. But if you are constantly plugged into it, especially through the wrong social media feeds, and some of them are particularly toxic, you just get into a state of permanent anxiety about the state of the human condition. So it's better to work out what you can practically do rather than just being constantly at the whim of the latest thing that comes your way.
Absolutely, yes. Well, before we move on, does anyone else have anything else to add or talk about on that question? Any last tips?
I did learn how to use ChatGPT 4, which has been extremely useful to make me more productive. After writing about AI for years, I actually have started using it on a daily basis to help with the heavy lifting of all sorts of different things. It's pretty useful.
On that, Greg, I learned that ChatGPT can lie. So it's only ever as good as what you program it to do. And if you're using it like a form of Google, then it's great. But I heard at a conference, I heard about a case where a lawyer had actually prepared something using ChatGPT, and ChatGPT had come up with case law using all kinds of the proper formula, the right way of saying it. None of those cases existed.
Yeah. It's like the pub bore. It's always certain and often wrong. So you need to be very careful. Sorry, John, go ahead.
Yeah, I asked her for some quotes I was putting in the proposal, actually. And it came with this brilliant quote by Maya Angelou, which is so perfect for my purposes. And I'm like, oh, that's going right in there. And then I went to bed and I got up the next day and went like, that quote doesn't sound like Maya Angelou. And then I went back to ChatGPT and I Googled it first of all, couldn't find it anywhere. And I said, was that quote actually Maya Angelou? And ChatGPT kind of went like, nah. And then like, what about this other one by Toni Morrison, whoever it was? And he goes, nah. You go, okay, which one of these are actually real?
Yeah.
Yes, make stuff up.
They're called hallucinations.
Yes.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
AI can have it just like human beings can. So yes, caveats and criteria. You have to get the usage right, but it can be quite useful as well.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's a bit scary, isn't it? Right. Okay, this one should be interesting. How to relax over the holiday break. That's if you're fortunate enough to have a break or a holiday. Greg, what do you think? Any ways
I was
to
saying
suggest?
to you before, Eloise, that my response to this was particularly poor, but I actually have written down exercise, swimming, laughter with friends and family, which does sound like a gift card, I'm afraid to say. But actually, those are the things that do make me relaxed, especially exercise. I think I've just actually hurt my back again a little bit after 2 years of physio to get it back. Fortunately, it's not as bad as it was before, but I do find my mood declining if I can't get a daily dose of exercise in. So yes, those are the kind of things I will be doing, and drinking moderately, of course, over Christmas with those friends and family.
Yes, because we were talking before the session started that you might sort of think that relax sort of means lying on the sofa doing nothing, but I guess it depends how you want to sort of recharge, and that might not be sitting on the sofa for everyone. You might want to go do a run, start a marathon or something instead.
Well, I'm really interested in what my fellow authors will be saying on this, because I think people who write books that are generally a sort of person who they're quite purpose driven. You have to be to get a book onto a page and out to a publisher. And so I find I can relax as I actually want to have a balance with work. And I was talking to someone about retirement, which is looming at some point for me. And I just can't ever see that happening. Holidays are just like a mini retirement. And in some cases, I find them a little bit frightening. I like to have a bit of work in my life. There's too much space. I find it a little bit overwhelming.
Wow. Catherine, what do you think about how to relax?
Well, I've sort of got two halves to this answer, and the first half is that before I come up to a break, whether it's holiday, Christmas break or whatever, I get this burst of energy because I want to finish everything. You know, I clear out my inbox, all those loose ends, all those boring things I've been putting off doing. Luckily, I get this burst of energy. I don't force it. It just sort of comes because I just want to finish everything. And then I write myself a sort of list of my priorities for when I come back after the holiday. So provided I do that, then I can relax and not think about work. But I am a bit like Greg in that I actually enjoy writing. I enjoy my work and I know I will miss it. But anyway, over the break itself, I know for me to feel good and have good mental health, I need to look after body, mind, and spirit. So like Greg, exercise, you know, I will get out, even if it's just for a walk, for some fresh air and exercise every day, including Christmas Day. Even if the turkey needs to be cooked, I'll still go out for a walk at some point. Obviously spending time with family and friends as well, but also because I'm more, you know, more naturally introverted, much as I love being with people, I also need some of my own space. And so I will, at various times during the day, I'll just extract myself from the hubbub, go be by myself, and I'll certainly probably start reading one of the books that I'm bound to be given over Christmas. So yeah, having that mixture of stuff, and I don't sit about at all. I hardly ever, you know, to sit down and watch a film is, it has to be a good film for me to do that. I'm quite active. So, but having that mixture of stuff for my mind, stuff for my body, stuff for my sort of, I don't know, higher purpose, if you like, is what keeps me happy and helps me relax.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, if anyone else has any suggestions that's watching, pop them in the chat. John, since you're in Vietnam, what are you going to be doing?
I haven't done much relaxing yet, actually. I'm planning to do that when I move to Hoi An, which is like a sleepy French colonial town, next week. But yeah, I don't find it very easy to relax anymore. I think I used to be, and then you crank yourself up as an entrepreneur, find you can't crank yourself down again. So, but what I found is that active relaxation often works better. I mean, just trying to lie on a sofa and do nothing, I find very difficult. But going for a walk or something like that, and I think a lot of people find, you know, walking or yoga or Tai Chi, something it's not too effortful, but it's like relaxation in action, but it engages your body as well. And I think the other thing I've discovered is that I feel like I have to deserve relaxation. So I can very easily tell myself, well, that's wrong, and you know, you can relax whenever you want. But the fact is, I seem to feel a lot better if I, for instance, do something in the morning, and then in the afternoon, I feel I can lie around and do nothing. So even if it's just tidying up or something, which is a constant challenge for me, but if I tidy up and make the place look really tidy, then I feel like, okay, I deserve just lying around doing nothing.
So relaxation is a bit of a reward for you, John, in a way. It's
it is. It just doing nothing all day feels a bit weird now. I think I used to do that, but like I say, I've kind of cranked myself up to be more productive and can't crank myself down again. So the one thing I am good at doing is napping. I'm very good at napping, and I write in my book actually a very important section on how to nap. And the secret is you use body scanning, because a lot of people say they can't nap because they can't get to sleep quick enough. But if you just close your eyes and do this process called body scanning, I find I go to sleep very quickly. And it's a skill. So I can conk out in about 30 seconds if I have a nap.
Didn't Churchill do that during?
Yeah. And he, in fact, I quote him in there. He said, it's like you get 2 complete days. You get like, you know, in one, because it feels like waking up again when you wake up after your nap.
It's a real skill to fall asleep in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I know.
Wow. Yeah, because I find that there's always something to do, even if it's a day off, but that sense of satisfaction when you've done it early, and then you can enjoy the rest of your day sort of doing what it is you want to do. That's such a good feeling.
Yeah.
So Audrey, any suggestions, any tips
Well, definitely my new best friend gets me relaxed. He's very therapeutic anyway. Listening to everybody, you're absolutely right. A lot of the time we like to energize or relax, and actually both can recharge us. So it's whatever works for you. Never feel ashamed of, oh, I can't just sit there and do nothing. No, if you want to read a book, read a book. If you want to learn something, learn something. It's great. It's whatever it does to allow you to shut your own brain off. For me, very similar to John, it's about managing my anxieties. I'm going to be heading off to Malaysia on Christmas Day, in fact, because I've got the book launch of The Leader's Guide to Wellbeing. And one of the biggest things there is actually being able to put on the out of office. And on that, I put not only say that I don't have access to emails, but I also put my time zone that I'm in. And that ability to manage expectations just means that I don't feel compelled to answer an email immediately. And the funny thing was, I was at a conference recently where a psychologist, Dr. Laura George, who studies time management, she said she's done research on this. And when people send an email, we don't think there's going to be any anxiety on the part of the recipient. We're just sending an email. And yet for the majority of recipients, we get them and go, oh no, I need to reply to this. And worse still, I've got a bit of a reputation of, oh, Audrey, you're so efficient. You reply to this all the time really quickly. So having that out of office simply means I can manage those expectations, and in turn that manages my anxiety. So that's actually how I'm going to really relax over the holiday. I'm putting my out of office on.
It's such a good idea to and I know I don't know if it's like an organizational thing, but here at Pearson it will say, so and so is out of the office, schedule send for once they're back. So that seems like a good idea.
That's good.
It sounds like a lot more admin though. Right. Okay, good. Okay, so we're on to our next question. So how to set goals to have a productive 2024? I can't believe it's going to be 2024, but nevertheless. So sort of looking forward now, John, what kind of things would you suggest for this?
Well, I'm a little bit down on goals in my book, but I suppose that the danger is, it's not that they're a bad thing necessarily, and they're very helpful for things like entrepreneurial stuff or, trying to get things done in your work. But the danger is that you set a goal because you think the goal will make you happy, and then you make yourself kind of miserable along the way to get there. And, there are lots of entrepreneurs who they made their first million, or they make their first 100 million, and then they can't stop, and there's never any satisfaction. And they keep thinking the next phase is going to be it. So I'm worried about those kinds of things. And so when I'm setting a goal, I always do it from a standpoint of like, what will it feel like to actually live that goal? Like, not just the moment you've ticked it off, because that's what everyone gets obsessed with. Oh, I've hit that goal, that's going to be fantastic. But what's it like to actually be there? So if I rejig my business, for instance, in a certain way, what's it going to feel like when I'm doing that? Because if you don't do that, if you're not careful, you end up creating something that doesn't make you happy. So for instance, you say, okay, I want a promotion because that's the next step. You haven't really considered, like, will that actually make me happy, this promotion, or am I climbing up the wrong ladder? And I think that's the kind of thing that I want to consider. So whenever I'm setting goals, I'm always thinking, like, I'm trying to imagine what it's like to live that experience and to get there along the way. So, there's some things I could do, some goals I would like to get, but I know that the getting of them would make me incredibly miserable. So, I change them if that's the case, and find a different way of doing it, or a different goal, in fact.
That's such a good idea, and you can have that on sort of a granular level or a very big level. Think about, is it just a societal expectation that I must get a promotion, or do I really want it?
Yeah.
What would it entail? I think that's really good advice. Audrey?
Very much like John, it is about recognizing that happiness is a state, it's not a goal. So don't do the whole, I'll be happy when I've got the promotion, lost the weight, whatever that goal is. Another point that I've recognized in myself is to be focusing on the little habits every day to get you to the goal. So if you want to run a marathon, it's not actually about what happens on marathon day. It's about the getting to do that run regularly, going out, having that pattern in place so that it allows you, when you get to that start line, to reach the goal at the end. It's the little changes that you make. But the biggest thing for me, and this is something that I did this year and it's really worked well, is schedule time in your calendar for yourself. It is there specifically, it's booked in, and other people can see that, because it does two things. The first is it gives you time to do whatever it is you want to do. But the second thing it does is psychologically, it reminds you that you are as important as all the other people that you schedule time in for. And that does a lot for our own sense of value and our own sense of self-worth. Because if we don't schedule that time in and it's not there blocked in our calendar, it's so easy for other people's psychodramas, other people's could I borrow you, all of those things to creep in. And then we start thinking, oh, I haven't got anything in here. Whereas actually, if you have got time for you, it's in there, you know you're worth it, use it for you.
I like that. And to also be vocal about sharing that with other people will remind them. Hopefully we'll have a domino effect.
Absolutely. And actually you're role modeling that behavior, because one of my most popular posts on LinkedIn, it's really strange, is exactly this. I see my dad every Tuesday. He has dialysis. I take him out for lunch every Tuesday. And the way I phrased it was really, he's my best client. And I will always, that time is booked in. I can book things around it, not a problem, as long as I've got that time in. And it's lovely because everybody knows that. And actually, I hope that shows other people that, you know, it is okay to understand what your priorities are. And a lot of the time, family, it's like Catherine said earlier, family, friends, those people in your life are really, really important. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit there and regret, oh, I wish I hadn't booked that meeting in on Tuesday when I could have seen my dad.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah. And I think when I phrased this question, I was thinking about sort of goals of, like, you know, career development, but yeah, it could just be a personal thing, you know, for yourself. So love it. Greg, anything on this?
I think this is a really important question, and I think goals are really often very misunderstood. It's one of the reasons why a ridiculously large percentage of New Year's resolutions utterly fail, and I think they've got the date upon which most people start going back to the mean of their lives, because they've not actually done it. And I think that for me there are three reasons why our goals don't succeed. The first, which is linked to what both Audrey and John were saying, is people haven't properly formed their goals aligned with their purpose and their values. So the goals are kind of all over the map because they haven't been thought out in any kind of life strategy type way, and they're not in the service of something that's longer term and you don't reach, because a purpose by definition is kind of a North Star that you're heading towards. So you need your goals to sit underneath that. The second is they haven't really thought how they can remove the obstacles to that goal being achieved. So by saying no to a lot of stuff, you have to say, if you really want to do something, you have to say no to other things. Saying yes to one thing means you haven't got enough time and attention for something else. But the third one, which I've really experienced in my life this year, is habit, that idea that Audrey was talking about. So on July 1st, my wife and I decided we'd do a press-up challenge for July for a charity, which was 1,000 press-ups, which is about 35 a day. And so I got a streak going, which just started meaning something to me, this streak. So I kept it going. And on November 27th, I hit 150 days of press-ups, 10,100 press-ups, because I'm like a geek. I've been keeping an Excel spreadsheet, which is still going. And the reason that's going is the habit, and they're very easy to do. So I've removed some of the obstacles. Plus, I started a WhatsApp group with my friends. So we all share our press-ups and other workouts every day now. So there's accountability. And I've never had such a successful streak of of exercising my whole life. And so it kind of brought it all together. It's really powerful when you get the little things right like that.
Yeah, wow, that's so impressive. So many press ups. Are you doing them all at once, Greg?
No, it's just through the day. And what's the nice thing about being a writer and doing sort of consultancy, like you can, when this is stopped, there's just a floor here. They're that easy. You can do them anywhere. So highly recommend press ups. They're a very good utility exercise.
Yeah, really good for your core, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, Catherine, what about you?
Well, just thinking what Greg just said, doing things with other people and having that potentially peer pressure or feeling, you don't want to let everyone else down, or that competitive element, I think is, as you said, a good motivator for achieving goals. Yeah, so I would sort of slightly challenge the premise of the question, which is, how to set goals to have a productive 2024. Do we all have to be productive all the time? Was my first sort of take on this. I would have, I prefer to think, well, how am I going to have what goals do I want to set to have a happy or a satisfying or a fulfilling 2024? And one of the tools that you're probably familiar with that many coaches use when they coach, and I work as a leadership coach, is the wheel of life, where you look at every part of your life, not just, your work or career, but also, your relationships with family and friends, your hobbies, I don't know, your home, where you live, your financial situation maybe, but you look at all the different aspects of your life. And then you think, okay, how satisfied am I with each of these aspects on a scale of 1 to 10? And for each thing. So if I say I rated my satisfaction with, I don't know, my hobbies, say, as 5 out of 10, then I know, well, okay, I need to do something about that. So then I can set myself a goal for doing something about that area, say, maybe. I mean, I play tennis and so on, so maybe I might want to increase the amount I play tennis. So I think I think it's a good idea to look at your whole life and not only think about goals in relation to work. And then secondly, when you set a goal, it has to be something positive, something that motivates you, something that attracts you, that vision. Link it back to what Greg said partly. Saying, I want to lose weight. That's a negative thing. And that's a very common New Year's resolution that people make, isn't it? Want to lose weight. That's negative. That's sacrifice. That's giving stuff up. Much more motivating is to say something like, I want to be fit and healthy, or I want to fit into a size 12 dress, or I want to be able to run up the stairs. And I think that vision of yourself doing something positive is more motivating. So that's one of my points about goals. It has to be something that attracts you, that motivates you. And then the other thing, or the other things are, how will you know when you've achieved it? How do you measure your success? How do you know? And as John said, it's more than just, okay, I did that thing. There's more around it. How do I know? What will I feel when I've achieved it? What will I be thinking? What will I be doing and saying? What will other people be saying, doing, feeling and thinking when I've achieved this goal, or when we've achieved this goal? So that's part of goal setting, I think. How do you know when you've achieved it? And I think the biggest thing that in business people miss out on is setting process goals. So we all talk about the outcome goals, and going back to business for a moment, we want to increase revenue or profit margins or numbers of customers or reduce the number of complaints. We're very good at setting outcome goals. We don't always set process goals. In other words, what are the milestones along the way? What do we have to do to get there? And often it's those smaller things and those habits and those little processes and procedures and things that make a difference to whether we'll actually achieve them or not. So that's another, I think, important. Process goals are as important as the ultimate outcome goals. So I think that's, and I would endorse everything everyone else has said, particularly about habits, making things easy, making things memorable. If I want to go to the gym every day, then putting my gym stuff in the car makes it easier. Making it memorable, see it, say it, sort it. Those sorts of little phrases, they're things that stick in your brain and help you, I think, to do the things that you say that you want to do. So I don't know if that was a bit of a complicated answer, but those are the different aspects that I tend to think about when I think about setting goals.
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah, Audrey, you were nodding furiously at the
Yeah,
mention of the Wheel of Life.
it's the wheel of life. I mean, I absolutely love this wheel. And the funny thing is, I teach this, and it's Eloise who's actually changed how I teach it now. So whilst you were doing that, I was just scribbling out. I used to teach it with normal segments, just equal size segments. And Eloise said, actually, do the segments have to be the same size? And the answer is no, because if say family is far more important to you, then you've got to give it a bigger segment, a bigger priority. And it also means that you can look at this and kind of go, well, okay, family's down to a very little one, and maybe exercise is down, that's quite little as well. Maybe I should work on the exercise. But if exercise is much smaller and family's a lot bigger, you probably got to work on the family aspect. So I really think the Wheel of Life is one of my favorite exercises. I love it. My clients love it.
Yeah.
It's absolutely brilliant. And you're absolutely right on the process goals. It is all about sort of the little things along the way that help us get to the big goal at the end. And actually, if you're doing the little ones along the way, you're putting in the habits that are going to enable you to get to the big goal a lot more easily.
Yeah. The other thing with the Wheel of Life, of course, is you also leave a section or two for people to put their own. You know, it's not me that defines the different
Oh God, no, the whole thing. Yeah, client does the whole thing.
I mean, they define the parts with
absolutely
some sort of thing.
Absolutely.
But, yeah. So I mean, some of this stuff, and particularly the resilience stuff, actually is I've covered that in my first book, How to Get On With Anyone. And goal setting is covered in there. And I think I used the example of someone wanting to diet.
It's so common at this time of year, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I don't know if anyone has any methods that they're using to track their goals. Greg, you said you were using Excel for push-ups.
Well, that's just, yeah, I guess that one comes under we were all talking about habits, weren't we? I found that, I mean, I've been trying to and have been working out for my whole life. It's just been really interesting to me that it all came together in this one little habit. That now the WhatsApp group, I run 2 WhatsApp groups with 2 separate groups of people just sharing. That bit was really powerful. And the press ups, just to me, are a streak. Obviously, I'm doing other exercises, but keeping that streak going, even when I've had COVID and I've been traveling. I mean, I literally have found myself doing press ups in the middle of Mumbai airport in September, because I just had to do it. And it's just having that, I did it yesterday, I want to do it tomorrow. It's really powerful psychology, and it's worked for me at least.
I'm not very good at tracking my goals, actually, because I keep everything in my head. And I often think I need more external ways of tracking.
Well, the reporting on WhatsApp's really easy, because I mean, I did spend some time on a Sunday going through my old WhatsApp messages and putting in Excel, which is a bit excessive, I know, but I was amazed that I got to 10,000, which meant something to me. I mean, it's all about meaning, isn't it? And so that meant something to me. And now I'm hoping, touch wood, to get to 300 days and maybe even a year of press ups and see where that takes me.
Yeah. I think what I do for tracking goals is I know what things I have to get done by certain dates, and then I put those dates in my diary, and then I just hope I notice them in my diary to make sure I do them in time. I'm a bit it doesn't sound great, does it? I'm not the world's best planner.
Oh, I love it. I'm a bit jealous, because I have to take documentation of everything.
Yeah.
I need reminders and notifications. So I'm impressed. I guess that's sort of a lesson, isn't it? You sort of need to do what works for you. If you can sort of carry it all in your head, then fantastic. But maybe you want external sort of validation, or people sort of confirming what you're doing is good. Then that's what works as well.
Yeah, I mean, one writer who's good on this, of course, is Oliver Burkeman. I followed him for years.
Yeah, he's good.
All his various writings, but I've also read 4,000 Weeks, which I think is his latest book, and just that whole productivity, planning, time management, he just makes you think about it differently.
Yeah. I can tell you the person that's really influenced me most on habits is the James Clear book, Atomic Habits. Not that he needs any plugging, and sorry, Eloise, because it's a different publisher, but it's a really, really good book on this, and that whole streak idea. is well described in that book.
Fantastic. Yeah, that sort of leads me on to something I wanted to ask. Is there, anything you'd suggest that our attendees read or watch, or any sort of websites, or anything you'd sort of recommend as a suggestion of what might be good? It doesn't have to be like reviewing this year or looking forward to next, just things that you think might be useful.
I'm a fan of brainwashing yourself, because I think we're all thinking thoughts all the time, and my challenge with goals is staying motivated and actually sticking to them. And what I've realized is that just soaking in a culture that supports the goal that I am going for really helps. So if I'm, for instance, in my business, I'm in a couple of mastermind groups. I'm in a men's group. I just joined Slimming World a few months ago to actually talking to losing weight, which actually worked. And what was the other thing I was just thinking of about that? So I try to listen and watch stuff that's going to override my natural British miserable outlook on life, which I seem to have grown up with for various, well, some bad things to adapt to when I was young, but probably set me off. But there's also culturally, it's like, oh, it's all going to go wrong and it'll probably rain kind of culture we live in. So to try and get over that, I listen to things that are very uplifting, very positive. If it's business stuff, it's people who are talking about having made millions and over again, and just hearing those stories of people starting from scratch. And you go like, oh, this should be easy then. And so my favorite thing for that, to answer your question, is there's a podcast called My First Million. And that's all about, it's by a couple of guys who've cashed out of their startups. And they just interview other people, or they talk between themselves about ideas for things that could make you rich. But also it's with a philosophy of not rich by any means. They like people who are getting rich in a way that really suits them. So for some people, it's getting to, a million turnover. For some people, there may be an actual billionaire, and both of them could be, there's no guarantee that the billionaire is happier than the millionaire. So there's very much a philosophy of like enjoying life as you do it. So I listen to that over and over again and read books on a similar kind of thing. And if I'm trying to achieve something else, like losing weight, I'll kind of soak myself in content around that as well.
Wow. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. Brainwash yourself. That's my tip.
I think the whole idea of audio, obviously, podcasts and audible books, I'm completely addicted to that whole approach now. Although I do find if the narrator is the wrong narrator for a book, it's really off-putting. So I always test them first, because some people you just cannot listen to or I can't listen to for six or 7 hours, and you have to get that right. But it's an incredibly time efficient and fun way to listen to books, I think. In terms of I was just thinking what I've read I read a lot, as most writers do, but I quite liked Soul for Happy by Mo Goland, who was the former Google executive, and he's taken an engineer's view of some of the stuff we've been talking about, purpose and happiness. I think it's a good book because he hinges it on the fact that sadly he lost his son who died, his 21-year-old son, and it's his journey of how did I get to be so I could be happy again after my son went. I found it quite moving. To be honest, if you've read a lot on that subject, it's nothing new, but it really helps you to think about it in a different way. And the book that really opened my eyes to business in a different way was Bad Blood by John Carreyrou, which is about the Sackler and Purdue scandal around OxyContin, which is the huge issue in the United States and increasingly in the UK. To me, if you're interested in business and the ethics of business and where we're going in the world, it's a must read. It's just a brilliant book. I would recommend those two. Podcasts, I'm fairly addicted to The Rest is Politics, not just because I'm interested in politics, just because I like the idea we need more people that are not polarized and are disagreeing agreeably, which is what they do on that podcast. And I think we've lost that art. in our culture, and we need to do that more. Come together and have good arguments that are agreeable, and we're all friends afterwards.
Mhm.
That is an art, isn't it? Just disagreeing,
It's a lost art, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
And I think that us, sort of political centrists are rarer and rarer, certainly in the public domain, and we need. There's so many intractable problems we're trying to solve. We all need to be the ability to do that, and this political extremism is even filtering into the organizational context, where I'm working with leaders and I'm trying to help some of them sort of do just that, create platforms where people can come together and solve their disagreements. So it's not just political anymore.
Yeah, we need collaboration, don't we? We need those collaborative skills.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can I make 2 quick recommendations, Eloise? Okay.
Yes, please.
So, and these only came to me as you were chatting. That one is, if anybody watching this is interested in writing a business book, apart from Eloise's wonderful posts on LinkedIn, which will definitely say you must read those. The other thing to read is a book called This Book Means Business by Alison Jones. Found that immensely helpful when I was writing my second book, actually. I unfortunately hadn't found it when I wrote the first one. And the other thing, just thinking about purpose and resilience, there's a fiction. I like fiction. I think it's good to read fiction. So there's a book called Butcher's Crossing by John Williams. And it's an amazing story of resilience. I won't spoil it by saying what it's about. It's set in America, and it's about, no, I won't say what it's about, but it also, right at the end, he suddenly, having been really resilient and persistent all the way through for his goal, at the end, he discovers he was going for the wrong goal. So I thought that was sort of relevant to what we were discussing earlier. When in life, you need to make sure your goals are the right ones for you.
Yes. John, is this your book?
No.
Oh, sorry.
This is why I've started using my middle name, because there's so many John Williamses in the world.
Yeah. So many brilliant John Williams as well, including yourself, John.
Actually, I think this one is known as John Edward Williams, or John Edwards Williams or something.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Only the Star Wars guy can get away with just being John Williams. He's number one. He's top of the John Williams tree.
Yeah.
We've had a question. Can we please add all the names of the books you're recommending? Maybe we can get together afterwards and send that via email. That might be. Sarah will let me know if that's possible. I've got a couple of questions. So this time of year, some people have a tendency to sort of make a lot of resolutions that they want to achieve, but realize it might be like an unrealistic number. Do you have any suggestions on sort of how to approach that?
I would always go with prioritize what I mean, you won't be able to do everything. What are the ones that are most important to you? And also consider what are the most doable out of all of them. Because there's a lot of the time, as a psychologist, I always get asked psychological reasons why this, that, and the other. Actually, a lot of the time, the reasons are practical. So, for example, if you want to start running and it's winter, you may need to get yourself a head torch to make it a little bit easier. You may need to get the kit that makes it more comfortable to do the running. So it is a case of having a think about what's the key priority and what is the practicality behind it. How does this actually fit into my lifestyle to make it become a habit? And then related to that and to the goals question is every day we do walk a very fine line between something that's going to lead me towards my goal or lead me kind of back to where I wanted to make the changes in the first place. And you just got to ask the question, is this pushing me here, or is it actually bringing me back? Is this choice I'm going to make going to bring me back there, and make the choice consciously?
Yeah, I think because sometimes we feel sort of embarrassed or ashamed if we don't achieve the things we want. But I wonder if sometimes it's okay to admit, well, that wasn't right for me at the time, and rather than sort of feeling bad about yourself.
Definitely. And actually, if you admit it, you'll probably find other people will go, oh, yeah, me too. This is what we find just by having a safe space to talk about things. You will find other people are kind of relieved when you say probably what they've been thinking.
I think the other thing related to what Audrey was just saying is set things out in small steps. So and give yourself a reward or rewards along the way. As you've achieved a bit of it, give yourself a little reward, give yourself some time off or whatever it is you like doing in your spare time. Go and give yourself these rewards when you've achieved some of the small steps on the way, and that'll keep you motivated. People, I sometimes say break down an elephant-sized task into mouse-sized bites, because people just set themselves big complicated goals and haven't worked out the practicalities of how to achieve them.
Absolutely, yes. That's the elephant's always a good example of that, isn't it? Super. All right. I'm conscious of time. Does anyone have anything else to suggest or I don't know, declare? Great. Well, thank you to our panelists today. That's been a really useful session. I know I'm going to try and implement some of these things. If you want to sort of find out more about our authors today, here are a selection of their Pearson books. This isn't completely extensive yet. I know a couple of our authors here have got some books coming out next year, which is exciting. And Audrey's also got another two, but I thought these were the ones I should highlight. So do get reading. They're available on our Pearson website and at all good bookshops. And next year, our business book of the month in January is How to Get a Job You Love by John Lees. His webinar is Take Control of Your Career, which is on the 23rd of January, and you can register at the book club website. So hopefully we'll see you again soon. Hopefully, thank you to everyone attending, and hopefully anyone watching the recording. So yes, happy 2023 and good luck for you to 2024. Thank you to everyone for coming, and I'll see you all soon.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.